Hey guys, the Explorer 4 here, Horrorboy 465, and today we are continuing the reviews on the Resident Evil film franchise with my review of the second Resident Evil film, Resident Evil Apocalypse. Now, Resident Evil Apocalypse came out in 2004, gets a 6.2 on IMDb, directed by Alexander Witt. I don't think he's really directed a lot of movies, Alexander Witt. I think he's more of a music video guy. I think he's also like a good I don't know, is he a cinematographer? It says camera and electrical. So maybe that's what he does most of the time. I guess he was involved with Avengers of Infinity War, Twister, and The Bourne Identity. So that's pretty cool. But as far as directing goes, I don't really think he wanted to direct much. I think this is honestly his only movie. It really is. He has a movie called Red Squad coming out in 2018, and then after that, it's Feathering the Wind. I know nothing about those movies. I have no clue what those movies are going to be, but obviously he's going back to directing again. But for the longest time, this was his only movie. And out of all the movies that I have all of the movies right over here on DVD. The only reason why I show DVDs in most of these reviews is because I kind of want to show you guys the additions I have and the features it has and designs of the poster and stuff like that. Just to give you guys a good look at the DVDs that I own. At least the versions of the films that I show you guys in the reviews. Most of them, some of them are like the outdated ones, like videos that a long time ago. I don't really have those DVDs anymore. Like, if you watch my old Chainsaw Massacre review of the 1974 film, my first review was with the 2-disc Ultimate Edition, and I don't have that anymore. So that's the older edition that I have. I have the 40th anniversary edition now. But Resident Evil Apocalypse pretty much picks up right after the first movie. Alice wakes up and she pretty much walks out of this facility that's been all abandoned, and she realizes that she's in Raccoon City. You have Jill Valentine involved. You also have the character, I think his name is Carlos, which both him as Carlos, the character from Resident Evil 3, the game. So from Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, and you also have Jill Valentine. Now, this is the first Resident Evil movie that you had video game characters put into the movie. And basically what it's about is Alice teams up with Jill Valentine and Carlos and a couple other survivors. You have a reporter lady. You have a guy from Stars who's been bit from a zombie, but he's still going to help the team out. And pretty much what their job is, they are in the middle of Raccoon City during this apocalypse, a zombie apocalypse. And they got to figure out how to get out of the city before the city is desolated, or it's decimated, or however. It's when basically they're going to destroy the city. They're going to drop a big bomb on the city and destroy all the zombies. And they got to, Alice and the rest of them have to get out of the city before that happens. And you also have this professor who's kind of helping Alice and the rest of the team out. And that's pretty much the gist of the plot. They deal with zombies. They deal with Umbrella. You have the ending of the film, which is pretty cool, where they pretty much fight this head bad guy, which I want to get the name of this actor because he's always playing like head bad guys in movies. I think his name, I can't pronounce his last name, but I'm going to try. Thomas Kretschmann. I think he's been in like plenty of movies where he's played the bad guy. I remember him from Age of Ultron, Avengers Age of Ultron. He was in Blade 2. He was in King Kong. But I know this guy. He's been in like a lot of movies playing the main bad guy. I think he actually plays a pretty cool bad guy in this movie. And pretty much that's that. You know, Alice and them are trying to get out. They ultimately do. Alice gets her memory wiped again because she gets hit in the head by this flying piece of metal. And then you get the idea that at the end of this movie that Umbrella kind of controls everything, and that they did something to Alice. They changed her to where she kind of has mind powers and stuff like that, which they don't really touch on to the next movie. And That's pretty much the gist of the plot for Resident Evil Apocalypse. To kind of delve deeper into this movie, though, this is my favorite Resident Evil film out of this series. I would say that my favorite Resident Evil movie would probably be Degeneration, only because it follows the games faithfully. I like the CGI aspect. I prefer that movie alone. I haven't seen Damnation yet, and I prefer that movie already over these movies because it has Leon in it. Leon's actually doing something. He's actually fighting zombies. You have zombies and creatures. I mean, it's pretty much a good adaptation of a Resident Evil film. It's not really a live action movie, but it is a film nevertheless. And this is my favorite Resident Evil movie. Now, for most people, this is not a very good movie. I don't really think it gets too many good reviews, or it doesn't get too much praise. It gets a 6.2 on IMDb. For me, that needs to be way higher. I think I really enjoy this movie because it's like a very fun, very entertaining action slash zombie flick. And it's, once again, it's not really a great Resident Evil film, but it's still pretty entertaining. I think it's still got some good stuff in it. I think that in this movie, Mila Jovovich playing Alice, I don't think her character was too annoying at this point. I think she was still kind of, she was in there doing the action scenes, but she wasn't just the one doing the action scenes. I mean, you still had Carlos doing stuff. You still had Jill Valentine doing stuff. So bringing the game characters in this franchise at this point was pretty good because they're at least doing something with them. And even in Resident Evil 3, or not Resident Evil 3, but Resident Evil Extinction, I'm not going to call them like 2 and 3 because they're not, I don't think they're considered to be like they're part 2s and 3s, but like they got the subtitles, so I'll just call them that. But I don't think in Resident Evil Extinction they do kind of lessen that mood with the characters from the games. And also, that's kind of when you get Alice kind of doing everything, and then it gets worse and worse as the franchise goes on. But I thought in this movie it wasn't too bad. I thought that, for me, the strong points is the zombies, because they were very well done. The apocalypse feel, you really feel like this is a giant city under attack. Umbrella's a good enemy in this movie. Once again, the guy who plays the main bad guy from Umbrella does a great job. I didn't mind the idea that there was this professor who developed the T virus for his daughter, and his daughter's kind of this carrier of the T virus, but somehow she can't turn into a zombie. And she pretty much finds out that kind of her and Alice are the same, that maybe Alice has a T virus in her. And, you have that character dynamic, which I didn't mind. I thought the team itself was pretty fun. The reporter chick. Granted, they really aren't the greatest actors. Like, I didn't really like the reporter chick. I didn't really like. I don't know. The guy who played Carlos did a good job. Of course, Mila Jovovich does a pretty good job in this movie. The girl who played Jill Valentine did decent. I just think that sometimes it might have been script issues because some of her dialogue is a little weird. Kind of sounds artificial. I don't think it's really her fault. And she would come back in later movies with, which is surprising me because she kind of disappeared from these movies for a while. You think about it, she kind of disappeared for Extinction, and I don't think you've seen her again until Afterlife. So it was a while before she came back. And I don't know. I don't think it was necessarily her fault. She looks like a good Jill Valentine. She's spot on. Looks just like Jill Valentine. Carlos, once again, the guy who plays Carlos is spot on, looks like Carlos from the games. And I don't know, I really like the practical effects in this movie. It's a very practical action movie. There's not much CGI at all in this film. I do enjoy the score. It's not necessarily as memorable as the first movie score, but I do enjoy it. I think it's a pretty decent score. But my favorite part about this movie is direction, the look, the camera work, and just the production design itself. Because this director, I think he did music videos, but in this case it helped. Because there's a really good energy in this movie. It has a lot of coloring, not coloring, but like colors going on, background colors and lighting. that really make it a very interesting film. And you also have some pretty good camera work. There's a lot of good angles in this movie. A lot of the camera work is really good in the film. Some really good flow of the camera work. So I don't mind that either. Production design, like the set design and stuff like that, looks amazing in this film. And they do a good job of making it feel like a really big deal. You know, this city really is under attack. It's really getting destroyed by these zombies, and Umbrella is to blame for all of this. And you really get the sense that this is a city under attack. So I really enjoyed that. Um, you can kind of get a sense of Resident Evil 3 in there, as well as Resident Evil 2, with the post-apocalyptic type thing. Um, Really, I think it's more faithful to Resident Evil 3 than anything, which is weird because it's the second Resident Evil film, and it's more faithful to Resident Evil 3. It's kind of like when they made Silent Hill Revelations, that piece of crap movie. Um, it's kind of like when they made that, where it's the second movie, but it's based off of the third game mostly. I don't get why they do that. And if you look at even Mortal Kombat Annihilation, that's more of a Mortal Kombat 3 movie than it is a Mortal Kombat 2 movie, which is, I just don't know why. Like, what's so bad about the second games? Like, Resident Evil 2 is amazing. Mortal Kombat 2 is amazing. Well, yeah, the game is amazing. It's really great. What else did I say? Silent Hill 2 is amazing. So why would you skip over the most amazing video game sequels? Like, Resident Evil 2 and Silent Hill 2 are some of the biggest gaming sequels of all time, and you kind of just skip over them. So I feel like that in this movie, they could have done something else, like make it more post-apocalyptic and not during the outbreak, because it does feel like Resident Evil 3 a lot. And I'm like, man, I love Resident Evil 3, but Resident Evil 2 is my favorite Resident Evil game, so you kind of just skim right over it. I was like, man. And they don't do the Resident Evil 2 tone in any of the movies, so it's pretty much skimmed right over. Same as Silent Hill. The first movie had kind of the first game feel. Second movie had the third game feel. I'm like, why did they skip Silent Hill 2? It's like one of the greatest gaming sequels of all time. Well, to get back to Resident Evil Apocalypse, I'm sorry about that. I just gotta kind of had to get that out because I reviewed plenty of these video game adapted movies. I don't even know if I said that right, but I've seen plenty of these kinds of movies, and I've never actually mentioned that, so I figured I'd get that in this review. But I think it has like really awesome camera work, really awesome lighting. It has this really awesome look to it, and you throw Nemesis in there, which is done very practically. And I think that people don't really like Nemesis being in this movie. Once again, it's kind of like Resident Evil 3, but, you know, people like Nemesis in this movie. I thought Nemesis was nailed in this movie. He could have been CGI. We could have gotten crap like in these freaking movies right over here. We could have got this crap with, like, bringing characters in these movies that don't need to be in it. Like executioners and stuff. We'll get to that when we get to that. But it could have been that. It could have been a CGI Nemesis. And I'm glad we didn't get that. I'm really glad that we didn't get that because that would have been freaking terrible. But I know a lot of people aren't really fans of Nemesis being in this film. He's practical. It's all done with practical effects, no CGI. And I don't have a problem with that. You know, Nemesis looks like Nemesis. He has the rocket launcher, has the minigun. That's Nemesis. That's the best you can get. Now, granted, I think that what made people so mad was that Alice fights Nemesis with her bare hands. You don't do that in Resident Evil 3. You try to fight Nemesis with your bare hands in Resident Evil 3, Nemesis will rip off your head and kick it through a field goal. That's what's going to happen in Resident Evil 3. Try to fight Nemesis with your fists. That's why you don't fight Nemesis in Resident Evil 3. This doesn't work. But somehow in this movie, Alice has a fist fight and ends up winning the fist fight against Nemesis in like 2 seconds. Granted, that is a really big problem. And I know they're like, whoa, it's a small problem. No, that's a big problem. You don't fist fight Nemesis. That's like somebody punching Pyramid Head. You know, somebody fist fighting Pyramid Head. It's like, you're not going to do it. You know, if you do, it's bullcrap, you know. But he's done practically. It looks awesome. The makeup effect itself looks great. So I don't have a problem with that. You have so much going on with the zombies and people getting bitten and not turning, but you don't know if they're going to turn yet or not. You have different characters, different environments like a school or a church or a graveyard, um, or just abandoned parts of the city that I really liked. That was really cool. Um, you have just really great ideas in there, like Alice flicking this cigarette and blowing up this freaking lunchroom with zombie dogs in it. Alice riding a motorcycle through the freaking church window, landing and shooting a shotgun and blowing lickers' heads off. That was really awesome. Um, there's a lot of good stuff going on in this movie. It has just a lot of really awesome stuff in it. For me, it's the most fun movie to watch. It's the one that, you know, has a city with zombies in it. It has Joe Valentine in it. It has Carlos in it. It has Alice not being in it too much. She has her action scenes. She's definitely the lead, but she's not. See, it's not my problem that Alice is the lead character. I mean, with the franchise being like a 6 movie franchise, I believe now, I'm not. That's not really my problem because I get it. You wanted to go that route, and it's whatever. But my problem is that in later sequels, you're shoving Alice down our throats. She's in every action scene. She has to save characters 24/7. Save people like Leon, people like Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield, and even in this movie, she saves Jill Valentine a lot. I'm like, dude, these people in the video game stopped plenty of monsters on their own. I'm pretty sure they don't need Alice going in there and saving them in slow-mo every time they get in trouble. That's like the same thing. Someone's in trouble, just turn slow motion on, and she shoots in slow motion, and it's all over. It's like you're making her pretty much a superhero in the movies, which is later on. In this movie, it's not that bad. Granted, she saves Jill Valentine a couple times, but she's not 24/7 like in the frame and it's all about Alice. No, in this movie you definitely feel like it's a team. They're trying to get out and there's lots of going on, lots of action, but again, also lots of dark horror stuff, lots of creepy stuff. The look of the city is very gloomy and eerie. And I wish, I said this earlier in the review, but I wish I had the DVD to this movie because I have all these DVDs over here and they're good, but my favorite DVD is probably the second movie, Apocalypse, because it has a really cool slipcover. The design of it looks awesome, and it's a 2-disc set, has a lot of features on it, and it was just packed with features, and looked great, sounds great, just a great DVD set. But unfortunately, I can't find it anywhere. I've actually been looking for it for a while because I wanted to show you guys because I love the freaking edition. I'm not panicking too much because it's a very common edition. It's not like it's limited edition or anything like that. I can probably pick it up for like $2-3, but still, it's a pretty good looking DVD, and also has great features on it as well. But yeah, this is the one that I can have most fun with. This is the one that I honestly feel they tried to get closer to the games because of the mood, because of the atmosphere, because of the environments, because of the camera work. I feel like this could have been a really good Resident Evil movie if you didn't do the first Resident Evil movie. You know, if you don't want to do the first Resident Evil movie, if you want to start off with the apocalypse happening and stuff like that, just have Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield in the city. With this kind of atmosphere, this kind of direction, this kind of like zombies and creatures and stuff like that, you have Nemesis in there. I feel like if you would take Alice out and take out all the other side characters, this would have been a really good Resident Evil movie because it has that mood. Not saying the first movie didn't have a mood to it or a tone, it really did, but it didn't have Resident Evil tone. That's the thing about the first movie. It's a good movie, but it doesn't have a Resident Evil tone. Here, it at least feels that they tried to do a Resident Evil tone with this movie. They tried to have the eeriness, the gloominess, the music, the environments, the cars on fire, and they also have comic relief in there as well. You know, GTA mother, and he hits the freaking zombie. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm saying. He's awesome in the movie. He comes back from Resident Evil 3, actually, and it's pretty cool. It's Mike Epps playing LJ. He comes back in the third movie, Extinction, and there's a really fun scene where he sees these zombie like strippers naked. He's like looking, and he crashes his car, and then he pretty much has to go on foot. And then Nemesis gets introduced, and he's like holding the guns up, and he drops them, and Nemesis turns away and walks away, and he's just scared. It's just Mike Epps is really great in the movie, but you just have a lot of good stuff in this movie. I know I did a 20-minute review on it, but I think it honestly deserves it. It's a really good movie. You know, you do have the Lickers in it from the games. You have the zombies from the games. You have Nemesis from the game. Resident Evil 3. That awesome look, that awesome feel. You have Jill Valentine and Carlos actually doing stuff in the movie. And I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty good entry. It's my favorite one. It's the one that feels probably the most Resident Evil. And then after this, it goes back to feeling like Paul W.S. Anderson again. Because he pretty much. I know that he was heavily involved in this movie, but I know after this, he was very heavily involved in the script and the writing and pretty much made the world his own world, which I don't have a problem with that. I mean, you know, Rob Zombie kind of did that with his Halloween movies, and I don't have a problem with that. It's just, does it fit the material? Does it fit the thing that we're working with here? You know, Resident Evil, but I don't know. We at least got one more good movie to talk about, and that's the next one we'll be doing a review on. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review of Resident Evil Apocalypse. Hope you guys enjoyed. And the Explorer of Horror... Let me say that again. The Explorer of Horror is out. See you guys later.